We've done the reading on the Associated Press style book about libel and media law. And let's go through and just hit a couple of the high points here on libel. So we're going to have, this is a topic that students, commercial journalists find to be complicated. So hang in there with the details and nuances. The law can get complicated for lawyers, but there's a basic idea of libel, which is enough for journalists to protect themselves from most lawsuits, and it's pretty straightforward. So the oversimplified definition is it's a publication of a false statement of fact that seriously harms someone's reputation. An example, you publish a story that says Principal Jones stole a school bus and used it for a family vacation this summer. Well, if you say that, you better be right. You better have it nailed down. If you're wrong, you've harmed his reputation. You've libeled him, and But we do need to dig a little bit deeper here. So the five things that the person suing that they need to be, to be successful. We'll go through those 5 points here, and we'll take them one by one. The first, it has to show that the material was published in some format, so that's pretty straightforward. Publication, can come in various forms, though. It can be in an article, it can be in a headline, it can be in a photo caption. And I mean, to really emphasize that a lot of libel suits involve kind of small things like little brief stories that you wouldn't think too much about, but they become big issues because people didn't spend the care that they should have to get it right. They can come in ads, cartoons. They can, senior wills or epitaphs, guest columns, letters to the editor, promotional material, and so forth. So you can be held responsible for republishing libelous statements too made by others. So you have to be aware of that, especially for letters to the editor. So it has to be, publication of a false statement that seriously harms someone's reputation. In many cases, this is pretty easy to determine if the person is named. He or she will meet the identification requirement. But in other cases, it may not be so simple, and people can be identified through implication. So if a person isn't named, there might be like key details that everybody in the community could fit together. So the story might say a top official at the Central High School is being investigated for stealing a school bus. Well, this could pretty much pinpoint the principal. Or it could be a more vague statement that school district officials are investigating a claim that a district employee stole a school bus. That wouldn't identify the principal, but you could still kind of piece it together. So if there's, the bottom line is that if there's no identification, a person cannot successfully sue for libel even if he or she believes they're being targeted by the false accusation. The third part of libel is very clear. Only false statements of fact can be libelous. And so this is one of them, that truth is an absolute defense to a charge of libel. But even though you might know it's true, that, this principal stole the bus, took the bus without permission for a family vacation, do you have it nailed down? Do you have documents? Do you have police reports? Do you have photographs? Do you have trustworthy, unbiased witnesses to back it up? If you don't, you may not be able to rely on the truth to get you out of a libel issue. So this is where having the whole method and ethos of verification and transparency really come into play here. And we need to, have very clear attribution of your sources and so forth. The person must show that a libelous statement is an assertion of fact and not opinion. If a statement only contains opinion, it can't be libelous. Unfortunately, it's kind of difficult, this opinion versus fact, to carve those up. in the example involving this principal on the bus, it's easy to tell that the statement of assertion is a fact, but for one thing, facts are objective. They're either true or false. He either took the bus or he didn't. Instead, you had to simply, if you said that Principal Jones is awful, can't really be proven true or false. But if it were pure opinion, it potentially could be protected in a libel case. So in order to sue for libel and be successful, the person suing must show that the false statement about them caused serious harm to their reputation. Being offended or embarrassed isn't enough. So here are the things that can really, lead to serious harm. The accusations of illegal conduct involving criminal justice system, sexual misconduct, association with loathsome diseases, so sexually transmitted diseases could be one thing, leprosy, some other things like that. AIDS at one point was considered to be in that category. Red flag statements about lying, that they're unfit for business, that they have academic problems, that they're a bigot or engaged in racial or religious hatred, and that they are financially unstable. So these are the things when you're writing and you're beginning to head into this zone, you need to be very, very careful. If it's shown that a statement has been published, identifies a specific individual, it's false. It asserts a fact, and it can cause someone's reputation. The person must show one more thing when they're suing in court. They must show that the journalist had messed up, that he or she is somehow at fault. You must show that the reporter has done something that a reasonable reporter or editor would not have done or failed to do. It must have shown some sloppiness and so forth. That means that if you always did what you're supposed to do as a reasonable reporter, like get attribution, get documents, verify material, you're going to generally be in a safe zone. Never say never, but you will be mostly protected from these sorts of things. So following the methods that we're talking about in this class of being very careful about assertions of involving reputation is really going to keep you on the right side of the law here. Acting reasonably, this is what we talk about in class, using trustworthy sources. Don't try to overstate their credibility or their knowledge. Taking accurate notes, getting those documents, report what you see. Don't try to shove a point of view down someone's throat. You're talking to all sides. You always talk to the person. Make an attempt to talk to the person you're writing about, even if they've been accused of a horrible crime. You want to talk to them. Try to be open-minded. You got to do all this work or you're not going to do this story. Be very, very careful about loaded language. Be careful about your use of adjectives and adverbs. And you're just not going to publish anything if you doubt it's truthful. That's it. Thank you very much. And the quiz will be up next.